So I was on an Air Canada flight the other day and I had already seen all the movies, so I reluctantly clicked on the Canadian content TV choices. There was a show called Best Laid Plans I had never heard of before, but it was political, so I clicked on it to pass the time. I have to tell you, it was probably the worst single thing I have ever watched. It was only because staring out the window for 4 hours was my other alternative that I watched it. I mean, I shouldn't make fun of low production values. Here I am standing out on the street in front of a brick wall, but I don't have the CBC's billion-dollar budget and all sorts of tax subsidies and other schemes that amount to corporate welfare for Canadian TV like this. The acting was awful. The story was awful. Even the music was awful. How do you manage that? I watched for about 5 minutes, and I was about to turn it off, thinking this show would make a 4-hour flight seem like 8 hours, so better not to watch it, when they started talking about ethical oil just out of the blue. See, the show was about a political speechwriter and campaigner in Ottawa and how he was so noble, but everyone else around him was shallow. He was deep and meaningful and morally superior to everyone. If only they just listened to him, the country would be saved. He was a feminist, but in the movie, in the show, a feminist who liked sleeping around. He was an environmentalist, but he loved to drive. Never took transit, of course. You know, he actually was a perfect Liberal Party hypocrite. It won't surprise you to know that the writer of this miniseries actually is that guy, a former Liberal Party speechwriter named Terry Fallis. So the whole show was some weird Liberal Party fantasy. Fallis wrote the book on which the show was based in 2008, so obviously this was his attempt at a do-over for that disastrous Liberal campaign led by Stéphane Dion. It was a form of political therapy for him, I think, to pretend that if his advice were followed, his team would win and have beaten the evil Stephen Harper or something like that. That's where this whole ethical oil thing came in. Obviously, Fallis knows that Dion's green shift carbon tax plan was a total disaster in that election. So watch this scene where Fallis fantasizes about ethical oil. That's the book I wrote. Or something, I don't know. The unsavory chief of staff here is ordering the heroic speechwriter to change their party's position. It's just so weird. Take a look.
Let me get this straight. You want me to write a speech about the tar sands?
Oil sands.
Referring to them as ethical oil.
Yep.
And using the term job gusher?
That's it. 178 billion barrels of oil in the ground, and we're supposed to just leave it there. With 28 seats in Alberta? It's basic math, Addison.
Okay. Ethical oil. Job gusher.
Maybe throw in a line about women's rights.
What?
You know, Fort McMurray versus Saudi Arabia. You know, chicks over there, they aren't even allowed to drive. How messed up is that?
Wow. Canada is one of the best places in the world to be a woman. And why? No. Every barrel of conflict oil goes towards the very repression. The choice is clear. Democracy or petrocracy.
I really don't know if that's pro or anti-ethical oil. It's just really weird, isn't it? Given all the other climate change crap in the movie, I'm pretty sure it was designed as some sort of insult to ethical oil, but sorry, even when written in that mocking way, I think the ethical oil thesis still holds up. We are morally superior to OPEC countries like Saudi Arabia. The oil sands do create jobs here. What's not to like about it? There is another thing I should mention. Every CanCon hack I could think of is in this show. It's really quite something. Everyone got their little gig and their little paycheck out of it at taxpayers' expense, including this guy, Peter Keelan. He used to be a Canadian comedian, and then he went to work for Greenpeace as an anti-oil sands activist. He made this video for Greenpeace. Take a look.
Well, sir, as usual in the environment ministry, it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. First, the bad news. Apparently there's a bunch more scientific reports out there that claim the greenies were right all along. The tar sands are bad for the environment.
Dang it, I can't get a break.
I'm sorry, I didn't see that one coming either. But the good news is we believe that we can still sell the tar sands as environmentally friendly.
Really? Can't we just fire more scientists?
Been there.
Close their labs?
Done that, sir. No, we're gonna have to step this one up. We're gonna have to greenwash our way out of this mess.
Green what? Green jeans?
Green
sleeves?
Green
gables?
Green wash,
What?
sir. Green wash.
See, we'll use millions of tax dollars to create the slickest ad campaign since GST is temporary.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll smother the issues with blah blah, but it all being about the economic action plan.
So naturally, he's happy to continue the anti-conservative pro-Greenpeace work, this time working for a Liberal Party writer on a CBC paid production. I mean, Greenpeace, CBC, what's the difference really? David Suzuki blurs the line, why shouldn't this show? Anyways, I was just surprised to see it talk about ethical oil in such a weird way. I don't have a lot to say about the show other than it sounded like one long whine. So I guess in that regards, casting Jonas Cherniak in the lead was perfect. He's just really got that whining down pat. Great acting or just playing himself. I hope I never have to find out. I don't do a lot of movie or TV reviews. I mean, don't worry, this show died after the first 6 episodes. Even the CBC has standards. I guess what bugs me the most, and the reason I'm talking about it, isn't the crummy art or the cheap politics. It's that you and I had to pay for it all, as we always do with government actors and government screenwriters. That's not news, I guess. That's olds. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.